Chapter 58-49. As he turned around, two figures directly stopped Li Sheng. "You!" Li Sheng almost called out when he saw the two figures. One of the figures carrying a divine sword kicked Li Sheng in the face. Li Sheng's figure broke through the stone house and was directly abandoned. Upon seeing this, Gula's men hurriedly wrapped up here. It should be this little ball for the mission. He grabbed the ball floating in the air, and the person looked overjoyed. When I wanted to put this small ball into the mustard seeds, but found that it could not be received in the mustard seeds anyway. Just kicked Li Sheng away. The young man carrying the divine sword leaked his face through the broken hole in the stone house. It was Jian Wushuang. Needless to say, another one is Wu Li. Both of them were planning to leave, but they received a special mission. This task is extremely special, not only a group task, but also 7 stars beyond the rules. Mission objective: collect 9 inheritance dragon of the Palunga tribe. It seemed simple, but after a little understanding of the Balunga tribe, the two were stunned. The Balunga tribe has several powerful people in the 6 tribulations realm. It is impossible to grab it. According to the two of them, it is to find the Empress first, and then discuss the long-term plan. But when they felt the aura of Li Sheng exploded, they also felt the aura of the Balunga clan. So I planned to come and have a look. The result happened to be the massacre of these people. The two of them also got bolder, and took advantage of the chaos to hide their breath, and mixed into the tribe. Want to fish in troubled waters. Unexpectedly, the two of them were really found. Thanks to Li Sheng's guidance. Following the other party into this stone house, I was planning to ask Li Sheng what's going on here. As a result, Dragon Ball was discovered. Those people outside, they don't know which power they belong to. But it's definitely not a team from outside. But also looking for Dragon Ball. They couldn't manage that much, so they immediately started to deal with Li Sheng. There are 9 dragon in total. Now that they get one, they can basically lie flat. As long as you find the Empress and give this Dragon Ball to the Empress, there will be nothing for them. So many teams. They get one, even if they succeeded. Since it's a group task, you can't think about collecting 9 by yourself. However, they have to escape here first. That terrifying strong man is still outside. If you are found, you can't escape happiness. Let me try. Jian Wushuang hurriedly went over and tried to bring Dragon Ball into the source, but he couldn't do it. At this time, he thought of outside the tribe. Beside the horrible atmosphere, there was a guy covered with spikes, holding 2 identical little balls. It should be impossible to store, so I can only hold it. Jian Wushuang was holding the Dragon Ball in one hand, so he couldn't control that much, so he could only hold it first. It doesn't matter, let's go now. Wu Ligang wanted to follow Jian Wushuang, and another reminder came from his body, making him stare at the Balungia child. Take him with you too, blame poor. Hearing this sentence, Jian Wushuang almost cursed. At this time, I can't protect myself anymore, and I have to take care of an alien child. But then I thought about it, Wu Li is not the kind of benevolence of women, it must be because of some kind of relationship. Immediately, he wrapped the Balunga clan's child with his divine power, and then broke the ground, and there was a channel all the way down. This passage connects the lake that is out of sight. After entering the water, Jian Wushuang's speed began to increase. He also happened to take 2 people to hide their breath, so that they would not be discovered by outsiders. I wanted to take Li Sheng away. It can be seen that the other party is doing well, and maybe it is more suitable to keep him by the side of the horrible powerhouse. There are 2 dragon in the opponent's hand. Can't pay attention. It's also considered as an undercover agent for them. Inside the tribe on the island, Li Sheng was kicked away, and rushed back like crazy. As a result, no one was seen, and even Balungia's child disappeared. Look at the hole in the ground again. He cursed from the bottom of his heart, "Damn Jian Wushuang, you didn't even take me." Even though there was a token there, I wanted to transmit the sound to Jian Wushuang. When he took out the token, he was shocked. The 2 messages above. The first, special group mission, 7 stars. Find the dragon. The second is the sound transmission from Jian Wushuang. Where to stay, don't go there. At this moment, he understood everything. I understood why Jian Wushuang kicked him and why he didn't take him away. This is for him to be careful. Thanks to Jian Wushuang's idea, let him be the chief of the first family in addition to the royal family. The key is not good yet. But he still had to do it. Feeling the breath rushing from outside, he quickly flattened the hole and collected all tokens. Then he destroyed the entire stone house. Boom! The stone house below was turned into ruins, and he was already in the air, and at the same time cursed, "Damn Belungia, dare to attack me." This wave of performance caused many of Gula's men who surrounded him to retreat. Brother Li Sheng, stop getting angry, come and help me quickly, called for help from a distance. Li Sheng's complexion eased, and he smiled, look at me. Boom! The depths of the lake that wraps the island. Jian Wushuang had already brought Wu Li and the Belunga children to the edge of the lake. Puff! He emerged from the water, turned and looked behind him, black smoke billowing. The Belunga tribe there was completely destroyed. When Pelunga's child saw it, tears were in his eyes. He is a wise Pelunga, knowing that it is useless to say anything now. Jian Wushuang just took a look, then said, let's go, find a safe place first. Take 2 people and fly close to the ground. After walking for a long time, he directly used the 3-shock universe, quickly moved hundreds of times, and stopped in a canyon. A lot of desolate beasts of the Tribulation Realm level have gathered here. It is a medium-sized tribe. However, the strongest is only the 4 Tribulations realm. With the help of this tribe's cover, they reached the depths of the canyon. After opening a cave, Jian Wushuang led them into the cave. Let's break the meeting. It's not tiring to hurry. But that kind of cautious feeling made Jian Wushuang physically and mentally exhausted. Wu Li took the Dragon Ball from him and began to study. The little boy of the Pelunga clan next to him didn't say a word. Jian Wushuang sat on the rock casually, regaining some power of thought. Also looked at Dragon Ball. How about it? I can see that there is no problem. He hasn't checked this Dragon Ball closely. It's just that 3 6-point stars are engraved on this dragon clan. There is no other special place. Wu Li hugged and studied for a long time, and finally gave up. No, I can't see anything. Chapter 5850. He said that he put the Dragon Ball on the ground and sat down on it. The children of the Belunga tribe couldn't help it anymore, they just kicked up and kicked the Dragon Ball under Wu Li's ass. Thump! Wu Li didn't pay attention and sat directly on the ground. Seeing this scene, Jian Wushuang almost laughed. A child of the Pelunga tribe quickly went to pick up the Dragon Ball that had gone away. Jian Wushuang didn't panic at all, he just looked at the Belunga children and picked up the Dragon Ball. This is the treasure of our clan's heritage. Although you saved me, you can't desecrate my clan's holy artifact. The child of the Belunga clan carefully held the Dragon Ball and looked at Jian Wushuang. He is extremely smart, knowing that Jian Wushuang is the strongest person. He also ignored Wu Li. Jian Wushuang nodded and took the initiative to apologize. Sorry, I apologize for my friend sincerely like you. I don't blame you, but I also want to thank you for saving me. Wu Li stood up from the ground at this time, patted the ashes on his butt, looked at the Belunga children, lowered his head and smiled. Little baby, what's your name? Danbao. Feeling the aura of wisdom in the other party, Jian Wushuang felt that this child could become a big thing in the future. Facing them too, there is no timidity at all. The answer was constant, and the tribe did not die, but collapsed. There is wisdom in his eyes. Danbao, I ask you, why did those people slaughter your tribe? Jian Wushuang asked. Danbao lowered his head this time. After all, he was still a child. Tears fell from the corners of his eyes when he thought of all his tribe members falling. They are here to the treasure of our clan, this Dragon Ball. After saying this, he raised his head to look at Jian Wushuang, and asked, are you aliens from heaven? Wu Li was surprised when he heard this, and asked quickly, how do you know that we are not local? Because, in the memory of our race, there is information about your human race. Dan Bao's answer caused Jian Wushuang to frown. It seems to be similar to the rumors. Since you know it, we don't hide it from you. This time we save you because of this Dragon Ball. We need to borrow him for a period of time. Jian Wushuang did not choose to conceal it. This kid is extremely clever and cannot be fooled. After Dan Bao heard it, he handed the Dragon Ball over very obediently, and said, I know what you are going to do, but please don't hurt Bolungiran. I promise you. Jian Wushuang took the Dragon Ball and agreed. He doesn't need to fight for Dragon Ball anymore, because one is enough. The rest has nothing to do with him. No matter how much he gets, it is for the Empress. In the end, the Empress abandoned them, and now he and Wu Li can still think of the Empress, which is interesting enough. I must have owed too much to the other party in my previous life, otherwise it is impossible to be her son-in-law. This Dragon Ball is a bargaining chip. There are 9 in total. 1 is enough. The next step is to find the Empress. At first, the other party loved to answer. He and Wu Li had just arrived in the Dragon God continent, and the female emperor just gave them a position. I ignored them both. Now as soon as I heard that I got the Dragon Ball, I told them directly and waited in place. In one day, the Empress can reach here. This also made Jian Wushuang surprised at the opponent's speed. He tried his best for a month. The Empress only needs 1 day. 6 Tribulation Realm. Jian Wushuang thought of something. In 100 years, what task can take such a long time? Wu Li has survived 100 years. Then the Empress may also break through. It is probably the 6 Tribulations Realm now. That's why the speed is so fast. Thinking of this, he breathed a sigh of relief. If the Empress really breaks through, then this time it will really be stable. The Lord of the Universe in the 6 Tribulations Realm. I am afraid that the supernatural power is almost 1 million. This is not going sideways. Wu Li's eyes lit up when he heard his speculation. Finally, you don't have to cringe anymore. The two of them just relaxed, but they felt a strong breath coming from a distance. There was fear in Jian Wushuang's eyes, and he reminded, no, who is the strong terrorist? Divine power instantly wrapped Wu Li and Dan Bao. He also held his breath. Wu Li was careful about the rumors. Is that fool Li Sheng betrayed us? It should not be. Jian Wushuang reduced his thoughts, and couldn't feel the breath either. But he felt unlikely. There is no need for Li Sheng to betray him. It's no good to betray him. On the contrary, if you cooperate with him, the benefits are huge. That breath goes very slowly. It's not like chasing them down. Instead, it seems to be on the way. A powerful aura passed over them. Jian Wushuang was relieved. That person is too horrible. Is it a powerhouse of the 7 Tribulations Realm? Wu Li panted hard, with an incredulous expression on his face. At this time, Dan Bao took out a crystal ball and said, you should be him. Jian Wushuang and Wu Li both looked at the crystal ball. Is this Nima? Seeing that familiar face, Jian Wushuang thought he had traveled back to Qi Temple. This face was exactly the same as the ancient temple he had killed. Ancient Temple, Frozen Demon Clan. When he opened up a cave on the Tumshan mountain just after he successfully joined the Dao, Zhenling got him to practice his hands. He also knew a lot about the frozen demon race at the time. This kind of overlord group in the ancient time and space of Maruor. I thought it was only in Maruor time and space, or Qi Temple still had some lingering remnants. I didn't expect to be able to encounter it on a wild continent in Guu time and space. It must be. Jian Wushuang gritted his teeth and stared at that face. Wu Li was surprised. Do you know him? No, I know his clan. Jian Wushuang shook his head, and then said, this is the Frozen Demon Clan, the Pinnacle Clan. They are extremely powerful. The most important thing is that they will not show people in their peak state, but suppress them. My own strength is in the weakest state. In the previous paragraph, Komwu Libing doesn't care. He wouldn't meet people in his peak state, but when he heard the last, he was stunned and trembled. The weakest state, 1 million supernatural power? If it were the peak state, wouldn't it be going to heaven? The other Jian Wushuang doesn't know, but the original ancient temple can be increased from 100,000 to 180,000. That's not half. Gula. Dan Bao said his name, and continued, I have passed the news of Gula to the Holy Land. Even if he is strong, the super fighters of the Holy Land will say that he is defeated. Wu Li almost laughed, thinking that although this child has a bright brain, he is still inexperienced in the world. It is not clear at all what 1,000,000 supernatural powers represent. That is the admission ticket for the 7 Tribulations realm powerhouse. It is also a sign of a leap in combat power. Chapter 58-51. Dan Bao saw the disdain of the two of them, and did not explain anything, but sent the news of this place back to the Holy Land. In the Holy Land of the Balunga tribe, there are 3 5 Tribulations realm powerhouses dispatched, and they are rushing towards this place. It only takes a quarter of an hour to arrive. At this time, Zhen Wushuang and Wu Li were still bragging about the Frozen Demon clan stupidly. It's not that I exaggerated. If this Gula turns into the peak state, the divine power is estimated to be more than 103. Can this increase by 300,000? You haven't met before, you don't know. Zhen Wushuang continued to boast. I think back then, when I was in Outland, when I was fighting in Outland, I met a Frozen Demon clan. Outland? Zhan. Wu Li knew that Zhen Wushuang was a reincarnated person. This was the first time he heard Zhen Wushuang talk about it, and his ears were also pricked up. At the same time, he questioned, Brother Wushuang, I think you should be not very old. Why did you go to Outland to fight? He collected all the information from Outland to Zhen Wushuang at the time. He couldn't think of how Zhen Wushuang would go to the Outland to fight, but he didn't know anything about the Outland. This is going to fight at that corner. Zhen Wushuang looked at the other party and didn't believe him. He also got angry and said loudly, Don't believe me. I was alone with tens of thousands of emperors. Although I was young, I was strong. For this, Wu Li is extremely trusting. Zhen Wushuang's knowledge may be fake. But the strength, okay. It can be expressed in one word. In that battle, I faced the Frozen Demon race, and fought the opponent for a month before I decided the victory or defeat. My memory is still fresh. Zhen Wushuang held his hands behind his back. Constantly raise their own insights. In fact, this is really the case. Although there is a little exaggeration. However, when he was really the emperor, he killed a Frozen Demon race powerhouse in the Tribulation realm. Wu Li nodded and said, Brother Wushuang, since you have experience, then I'm not afraid. When your majesty comes down, let's kill the Frozen Demon clan. The opponent has 2 dragon in his hand. This. Zhen Wushuang paused, and he just talked about it. That can really deal with Gula. Back then, the ancient temples were weak enough to be bullied. The current Gula is in the 7 Tribulations realm. Without changing the body, one hand can pack the 2 of them. Plus the Empress is not too much. If you transform, this time all the teams together will not be enough to give you a head. To deal with Gula, forget it. I think it's fine, 1 Dragon Ball is enough, and your majesty has just broken through, and may not be used to the divine power. Now you are shooting, don't pay attention to it. The 2 were chatting, and Gula had already left. I didn't pay much attention to the outside world. When 3 strong men of the Balunga clan with gloomy faces were found standing at the entrance of the cave, the 2 swallowed at the same time. Dan Bao ran over at this time and spoke to the 3 of them in the language of the Balunga tribe. Zhen Wushuang and Wu Li were already stunned, not daring to move. 3 5 Tribulations realm. The weakest divine power is 700,000. Still 3. The 2 of them have given up and fled. Wu Li, an old fried dough stick, has a fairly quick response. I flipped it through, took out a few slips, and walked up to the front with a cup of tea. Little brother Danbao, I didn't say your grown-up came, and didn't say hello in advance. You see how shivering here, there is not even a place to sit. This sacred heritage of the people is unavoidably embarrassing. I didn't know what to say for a while, turned his head and winked at Zhen Wushuang. Zhen Wushuang also nodded and said, It's really shivering, and it's a very special shiver. Among the 3 powerhouses of the Balunga tribe, the one in the middle, the most burly figure, stepped forward to Wu Li. Wu Li's thin body is like a little chicken. Drink tea. Wu Li leaked a smile and handed the tea cup up. Snapped. The burly wave wheel strengthener kicked Wu Li in the face and kicked it several feet directly. Wu Li's body hit the rock wall and fell off again. This is a punishment for your disrespect of my Balunga tribe's holy artifact. After the opponent did it, Jian Wushuang originally wanted to use Wu Li to use the three-shock universe, but found that the opponent had just started it and didn't use divine power. Wu Li was not injured either. It stabilized. Which burly strong man turned to Jian Wushuang, put one hand on his chest, bowed and said, "I, Zack of the Belunga tribe, thank you for saving Danbao." "You're welcome," Jian Wushuang said politely, slowly stepping forward and handing the dragon ball in his arms to the opponent. "At this time, you can't borrow anymore. If you borrow yourself again, you will end up just like Wu Li." Wu Li got up from the ground with his face black. Danbao also ran over at this time, bowed to Jian Wushuang and thanked him, and then explained, "Benefactor, it's not my clan's powerhouse who is embarrassing you. Now the core tribe of my Pelunga clan has been destroyed. 3 people, you are so familiar with Gura, please come with me to the Holy Land, tell my clan elders what you know, and I will lend you dragon at that time. This is natural." Jian Wushuang nodded and smiled. Then transmitted the voice to Wu Li, "Follow it. Now there is no other choice but to check it out first. The Empress will be here in less than a day." Judging by Danbao's meaning, there shouldn't be any danger. And they have also heard that the powerhouses of the Belunga clan are not warlike. Just one thing, Jian Wushuang was very worried. He is now afraid that those human race teams will rob the Dragon Ball and create a bad image for the human race. "Please." Zack waved his hand, and a flying carpet appeared, and Jian Wushuang and Wu Li jumped up together. Hum. Divine power skyrocketed above the magic carpet. Huh. Everyone instantly reached the outside air, and then went all the way to the north. "This direction?" Jian Wushuang pointed, and then reminded, "Everyone, I am dissatisfied with what you said, this direction is not good. Gula just went in this direction, and the speed is not fast. They drive at this speed, I am afraid they will be able to catch up with Gula in a while. That would be dangerous." Although Danbao had been with them, he was not a fighting type of Pelunga, and he couldn't feel the strong aura of Gula. "Don't worry, Benefactor, Zack is very strong. In the last clan competition, he ranked in the top 10. Even if you meet Gula, you are not afraid." Danbao is very confident in Zack. But Jian Wushuang didn't think so. The intelligent Belunga clan is an idiot in combat. Don't understand at all. Zack also looked over at this time and said, "Benefactor, what is the power of the strong man who slaughtered my Belungia tribe?" End of this chapter. Chapter 58-52. Start a million. Jian Wushuang said calmly. When he heard a million supernatural powers, Zack hurriedly shouted, "Turn around, turn around." The wave wheel enhancer operating the flying carpet quickly stopped. "Zack, that position is the tribe where Elder Jones is." "That's it." Jian Wushuang understood now. Gula should have gone to another tribe nearby. Zack is the strongest warrior of the Elder Jones tribe. Just keep practicing in the Holy Land. Now I heard that Gula was going to his tribe, and I was anxious. You two took Danbao and your benefactor to detour to the Holy Land. I will go back to support Elder Jones. Zack didn't shrink this time because Gula had a million supernatural powers. This is the warrior of Pelunga. Always hold the greatest kindness to your tribe and people. A tribe will not give up. It's like they went to rescue Danbao. It was just a child, and 3-5 Tribulation's realm were dispatched. This has nothing to do with the inheritance of holy relics. It is true that promised to lend Jian Wushuang. Because this inheritance sacred object is really of little use, it is only used to pay tribute to the great dragon god. I'm going with you. Elder Jones is too old, and his divine power has declined very seriously. You can't help much by yourself. Another wave wheel strengthener also took the initiative to fight. Jian Wushuang suggested at this time, even if you go together, it's useless. It's better to let the strong from the Holy Land support you now. He listened to Danbao's words, this Zack is only ranked 10th, can be so strong. Then call the rest together, there is really hope to defeat Gula. The elder Shimor, who is closest to this place, has already set off with someone. Danbao had already been contacting the elders of various tribes. Jian Wushuang also stole a complimenting look at Danbao. No loss is a smart type, and the reaction is faster than these few elm bumps. Let's go now. Zack and the other wave wheel strengthener directly increased their speed and flew quickly in the direction of Gulafei. There is only one wave wheel strengthener with the weakest strength left. Wu Li said in a voice transmission at this time, "Brother Wushuang, why don't we make him together?" "Don't." Jian Wushuang shook his head lightly. He could see now that the Belunga were not hostile to the humans. It's better to go downhill and don't always think about being someone else. Dan Bao used the crystal ball in his hand to continuously deliver news. Seeing that the other party is so busy, I originally wanted to inquire about the Barunga Holy Land, but now I am too embarrassed to disturb the other party. After Zack and the others left, everyone rushed for a quarter of an hour, trying to make a detour to the Holy Land. Jian Wushuang sat down cross-legged and waited quietly. But at this time, he felt a strong breath and was approaching. This breath is very familiar. There is Li Sheng's breath in it. This shocked him. Just when he wanted to remind one of the wave wheel enhancers who manipulated the magic carpet, Li Sheng had already given him a voice transmission. "Gula is not there. What's the situation on your side? Why are you mixing up with the Belungia people?" After Jian Wushuang saw the news, he let out a sigh of relief. "As long as Gula is not there. I just don't know, Li Sheng, what are they doing here?" He hadn't reminded which wave will strengthener. The other party felt the breath himself, but he stopped by himself. There is no way to avoid it. It's Gula's subordinate. Jian Wushuang reflected this time. At the same time, he directly sent a message to Li Sheng and asked him what he was coming from. This group of people is responsible for finding out the location of Belunga Holy Land. The tribes of Belunga are easy to find. But holy places, ordinary people are not worth it at all. Gula's victory is in hand, no tribe of Belungia can stop them, and they can be pulled out one by one. But the Holy Land is not so early. So he sent his men to find the Holy Land. By coincidence, I met Jian Wushuang and the others. The leader is still a 5 Tribulations Realm powerhouse, and 7 or 8 4 Tribulations Realm. Fortunately, the breath of the 5 Tribulations Realm powerhouse was not as strong as Jian Wushuang imagined. The wave wheel strengthener gritted his teeth and stopped, is probably because of this, he wants to avenge his tribe. Jian Wushuang also started gearing up, and said to Wu Li next to him, "Wait for you to cooperate with this fellow Daoist, and I will leave the rest to me." "Imon." Wu Li pointed to himself. Dan Bao also understood at this time that an enemy was approaching, and he urged both of them to take action. "Why, you are not afraid?" Jian Wushuang asked in surprise on purpose. The two of them just blew the ceiling. If the fire is miserable now, it would be too shameful. Dan Bao is still here. Wu Li also found out the distribution of the strong in that breath, and shrugged his shoulders and said indifferently, "Why? I think this wave wheel plus fellow Daoist can level the opponent alone, but it's been a long time since I did it. Practice with these people. Didn't you just be beaten once?" Jian Wushuang whispered, and the beast soldier on his body had already appeared outside his body. A dragon sings the sky. It is not the same as the real dragon of the Belunga tribe. He is the candle dragon. Swish. Dozens of figures descended instantly, appeared in front of Jian Wushuang and them. Yanjia Road is narrow. The leader was a handsome young man with long purple hair, staring at them without any scruples. When he saw that Dragon Ball, his expression was shocked. "Dragon Ball? You guys are actually holding Dragon Ball?" The 5 Tribulations Realm powerhouse of Bo Luanjia sneered. "Why, do you want it?" Dan Bao reminded in a low voice at this moment, "Jada, the other party's divine power is very powerful." Through the crystal ball, he could see that Gula's subordinate had extremely powerful divine power. Much better than Garda. "It's okay, just leave it to me." Wu Li stepped forward at this time, patted Dan Bao's round head, and directly drew out the 3-foot sword. Jian Wushuang's divine power also exploded to the peak, and he used 3 times the power of the beast when he came up, with a divine power of 550,000. It is completely enough to deal with those 4 Tribulations Realm. Which 5 Tribulations Realm depends on Wu Li, Com and this Jada. "Do it." Wu Li's face sank, and he shouted directly. Everyone didn't do much nonsense. Jada didn't want to talk nonsense with the murderers who killed other people, so he rushed over. Jian Wushuang didn't move, he wanted to protect Dan Bao. Of course, there is also Dragon Ball. In the crowd, he saw Li Sheng at a glance, nodded, motioned for the other party to come over and act with him. Li Sheng is also very cooperative. Immediately shouted, "General Sabo, I will grab the Dragon Ball, and the rest will assist Master Sabo." Sabo's purple hair was flying, and he said calmly, "Go and stop the sword-backed man and don't let him escape. I will be able to solve these two miscellaneous fish soon." End of this chapter. Chapter 58-53. Yes. Li Sheng smiled and rushed to Jian Wushuang immediately. Jian Wushuang deliberately showed weakness and prevented more people from joining their battle group. Sabo faced Jada, and the two Five Tribulations realm powerhouses both possessed more than 700,000 supernatural powers. Wu Li said it was together. He went half a turn to deal with those Four Tribulations realm. Let Garda play against Sabo alone. Jian Wushuang didn't care. After approaching, he discovered the strength of this Sabo, just like that. It's better than Garda, but it's not much stronger. After Wu Li has solved the miscellaneous fish in the Four Tribulations, it is not too late to help. On Jian Wushuang's side, he was chatting with Li Sheng. Although the start is not light or heavy, it is just for cooperation. From Li Sheng, he also knew the purpose of Gula. This coincides with the group task dispatched by Ji Mu. They are all about collecting Dragon Balls. If this goes on, the human race team will meet with Gula sooner or later. Thinking of this, Jian Wushuang's heart sank. He really didn't think about it. Frozen demons. Millions of supernatural powers. Haven't transformed yet. There is not much hope for cooperation. It's the strong human race, and can join hands with the strong Belungia family to deal with the Gula. This is a good choice. The Holy Land must go. Jian Wushuang told Li Sheng his thoughts. Let the other party understand the importance of this time. If this matter is done, then the Saintess candidate of the Empress will be stable. The test of the inner circumference is very important. The core place is basically relying on strength to bite the bullet and rush inside. They must seize this opportunity now. Li Sheng nodded, extremely in favor. At the same time, he also admired Jian Wushuang's loyalty. After being abandoned by the Empress, she was still so loyal. I won't talk about protecting Jin Chen. The two are husbands and wives, so they naturally want to protect them. Now that his wife is dead, Jian Wushuang is still so loyal. You can simply build a temple for him. Jian Wushuang himself thought so too. Said it was for Wanliu Shenmu. But there is no need to fight like this. That time it was a lifespan. If things were done this time, it wouldn't be too much to ask the Empress to come over and knock him one. After the Empress becomes a saint, she must be confessed. But thinking of following Wu Li to sneak into Wanliu, then the trouble will not be small. It's even. The two played easily. But Wu Li's side is killing. One sword and one head, blood stained the sky. Just let you people see, the first human sword is amazing. Wu Li held the wooden sword upside down and took a deep breath. A green breath was exhaled from his mouth, and the wooden sword directly penetrated the green breath, as if quenched, and the kendo began to soar. The only three remaining Four Tribulations realm powerhouses looked at each other and dared not step forward anymore. They also didn't expect that the Four Tribulations realm of human race in front of them would be so powerful. It is already comparable to the Five Tribulations realm powerhouse. Fight. Wu Li smiled and shouted, "Good job. Killing these Four Tribulations realm desolate beasts is like destroying them. Beheaded instantly." Kang. Putting the wooden sword into the sheath, he also learned Jian Wushuang's back, looking like a master, turned his head to look at Jian Wushuang, and said calmly, "Do you need my help?" Li Sheng was also taken aback. He didn't expect that Wu Li, who used to be the only promise in the country of Vietnam, would be so strong. Returning to the Yu country this time, the position of their Li family is likely to be replaced by the Wu family. For a while, he was also not satisfied with his divine power. Thinking of reaping some benefits from this group mission. Everyone else has broken through, and he has to break through. Five Tribulation realm. It's not impossible. Besides, since he has helped Jian Wushuang so much now, he has to get some benefits first. You have to rely on him in the future. For example, such treasures as Hunyuan stone. At the beginning, Jian Wushuang was followed by tens of thousands of Hunyuan, and he was extremely jealous. Brother Wushuang, your plan is perfect, but my current strength is too weak, I'm afraid. Before he finished speaking, Jian Wushuang understood what the other party meant. Raising his hand and hitting it out, he wrapped a full 500,000 yuan stone and sent it into Li Sheng's body. Hey, Brother Wushuang, I didn't mean that. Li Sheng still wanted to be polite, but when he saw the number, he trembled and said, Brother Wushuang, you gave me a big surprise today. It is also very difficult for the Five Tribulations realm to get so many 500,000 yuan stones. In this holy meeting for Li Sheng, no matter how lucky it is difficult to obtain treasures of equal value. It really gave him a great advantage. He had already collected some of the treasures needed by the Five Tribulations realm. What is missing is the Hunyuan stone. This time, he might be expected to break through and become the Five Tribulations realm. Once it succeeds, he can securely win the title of the first family in Vietnam. The juniors who die more are fine. There are many times in the Five Tribulations realm. He has enough time to cultivate more powerful younger generations. And once the plan is successful, Jian Wushuang accounts for his head skills. Then he is the second credit. At that time, he will be famous in ancient wood continent. Those strong in the secret realm may not remember him well. But the strong of the 16 nations will definitely remember him. Li Sheng. The chance to become famous is now. Jian Wushuang didn't really care about 500,000 mixed yuan stones. Just give it. Compared to entering Wanliu, this is a drop in the bucket. Not even a dime. Turning his head and glanced at Wu Li, he said, Don't worry about me, go help Senior Jada. Although he said so on the surface, it was the sound transmission in private that told Wu Li not to kill him. We have to let Sabo take Li Sheng away later. If Sabo kills, Li Sheng will be embarrassed. The Five Tribulations realm all fell, and they fled back to a Four Tribulations realm. What was going on? Don't lose big because of small. Let Gula doubt Li Sheng. It's a pity that this time he was thinking too much. Wu Li just went to help Jiada. Sabo exploded. The figure swells directly, and his appearance has changed from handsome to ugly, but his supernatural power has actually increased by 7 to 80,000. Now Sabo has 800,000 supernatural powers. The same as the original Whale Shark King. He is also an extreme powerhouse in the Five Tribulations realm. At this time, doesn't need Wu Li to play Jiada. Both of them broke out with all their strength, and neither of them could stop Sabo. Jian Wushuang also understood that it was time to escape. It's just that he takes 2 people at most. And Jiada didn't seem to want to leave either. Benefactor, you take Danbao and go quickly, there are 2 of us blocking here. Jiada's arm was broken, and the blood in his mouth was constantly flowing, extremely embarrassed, but still worried about Danbao's safety. Wu Li cursed secretly in his heart, and quickly transmitted the sound transmission. Jian Wushuang said, Don't listen to him, take me away, I really can't stop him. Don't worry, Jian Wushuang said slowly. Sabo, who was firmly in the upper hand, said, Don't even want to run away, Brother Li Sheng, hold them for me, and I will be able to solve these 2 with 3 breath. End of this chapter. Chapter 58-54. No problem. Li Sheng smiled madly and started to explode. In private, he told Jian Wushuang to let go and attack him. It's best to have a serious injury. Otherwise, he would not take this virgin stone in a reliable way. Must be ruthless. Jian Wushuang secretly admired him, thinking that Li Sheng was fearful at first, but now he has transformed into a real powerhouse. And it's cruel enough, cruel to others, and cruel to yourself. The future is boundless. Don't be too full of words, first catch my super invincible cyclone limit kill splitting, let's talk about it. Jian Wushuang directly drew out the sword of 10,000 tribulations. Kang. The cold light blinked. Power shakes the sky. Li Sheng paused, a little fictitious. But still bite the bullet and rushed over, almost stretched his neck to let Jian Wushuang chop. Jian found that he did not use the star catalogue. Although Li Sheng has become stronger, his strength is limited. With a peak of 600,000 supernatural powers, he slashed down with a single sword, not allowing Li Sheng to be smashed to death. It must be calculated well, and the injury must be hurt to the fullest. With this sword, he made Li Sheng short legs, so he would not break his hand. Wow! The huge sword shadow smashed it, and it was extremely powerful. But it's all on the surface. Even Sabo was taken aback, but he didn't expect that a Four Tribulations realm would be so powerful. Li Sheng's powerhouse has already surprised him. That's why Li Sheng can be regarded as a brother. But Jian Wushuang was so powerful, it was beyond his sight. With just one sword, Li Sheng lost his life. Fell directly from the sky. Wu Li saw Sabo stop for a while, took the opportunity to pull away and rushed towards Li Sheng, shouting, "I'll help you block him, go quickly." Saying that, he has already leaned towards Jian Wushuang. Sabo was also anxious, punching through Garda's chest, completely losing the opponent's combat effectiveness. His figure flashed, he wanted to chase Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang's supernatural power enveloped Dan Bao and Wu Li, who rushed, the wings behind him suddenly shook, and he jumped to the 9 layers of heaven. One thought of the universe. The universe comes to perfection. 3 shocks in the universe. The wings on the back opened completely, and the first shock rushed out of a distance of the universe. The 3 shocks are over. The 3 of them couldn't feel Sabo's breath anymore. Sabo, who was staying in place, looked surprised at the disappearing universe. The man ran away, and the Dragon Ball was gone. There was only one Jiada who had lost combat power, and Li Sheng who was seriously injured. "Brother Sabo, blame me this time, I really didn't resist." Li Sheng dragged his seriously injured body and walked over. This time, his performance, even for Jiu La to see, couldn't fault it. Although Sabo was very angry, he was the strongest existence in this place. He couldn't catch up with Jian Wushuang's speed just now, and it was strange that Li Sheng could stop him. "Forget it, this time it's my carelessness, first go back and report to the king." Sabo's supernatural power wrapped Li Sheng, and he rushed to the Balunga tribe where Gula was heading. It is also the tribe supported by Zack. But the battle is not fierce. Because this time Gula shot. The strongest Zack was seriously injured in one move. The 2-5 tribulations in the tribe were also resolved by Gula's 2-5 tribulations. "My lord, Dragon Ball found it." With a movement, Gula recruited the Dragon Ball and threw it on top of the throne. Then he sat on the throne. "Kill the rest, wait until Sabo comes back." As soon as he finished speaking, he felt 2 breaths approaching. Sabo dragged Li Sheng to Gula, telling the story of what he had just encountered. "Oh, the Balungia man holding the Dragon Ball, it seems that the previous tribe escaped, so where should they go?" Gula dragged his chin and squinted his eyes. Seeing Zack lying on the ground, he said, "Palunga, don't you say that someone in the Holy Land can defeat me? Why don't you treat me to the Holy Land? Don't think about it." Zack was already desperate. The power of 1,000,000 is too strong. Not an opponent at all. Now we can only wait for the Holy Land to gather all the strong to deal with the Gula. Gula raised his hand and pointed out, and directly pierced Zack's chest. A seemingly random blow, but completely destroyed Zack's origin and divine body. "Go back to the camp first." Gula pondered for a while and decided to go back first. Now there are fewer and fewer people around him, and the efficiency is too low. However, he has already sent a message to the far north ice sheet, and his subordinates have already arrived with more powerful men. When the time comes, you can start with those tribes together. Then mobilize everyone to find the Holy Land. After hearing the order, Sabo hesitated and asked, "My lord, are you waiting for Jinyu and the others?" "Guess it." The throne where Gula sat down turned and floated in the sky, and the group left the destroyed tribe with Dragon Balls. Sabo froze for a moment, and followed him. Thinking of the strength of the Keanu group, he couldn't help but exhale deeply. The weakest of those people can hang him. The supernatural power of Jinyu himself can be compared to that of the king. If these people came to the dragon god continent, then there will be no grass growing here. The camp at Gulaku is actually an ancient relic. There is a natural barrier here. Of course, it is of no use to him. Li Sheng was teleported here at the beginning and met Gula. Returning to the resting place, he informed Gula about the loosening of his realm. Unexpectedly, Gula, Ishi gave him a lot of treasures that boosted his supernatural power. This made Li Sheng unexpected. Now the Gula is the most lacking person, can have an extra 5 tribulations realm, and can also contribute more. After Li Sheng settled down here, he informed Jian Wushuang of the specific situation of the place. Dragon God Continent, in the deep zephyr of the north. Jian Wushuang took Wu Li and Dan Bao on the road leisurely. The three of them, after walking for an hour, still haven't reached the holy place in Dan Bao's mouth. The main reason is that Dan Bao has never been to the Holy Land. It can only be found by the map that Zack passed to him. Jian Wushuang looked for Dan Bao while thinking about the situation on Gula's side. At the same time, he informed the Empress of his position. The time of the day is too slow. Moreover, the distance between the Empress and him has not changed since he fled so far. Little brother, you brought me along this way. I didn't know. I thought you were going to abduct the two of us. Wu Li complained while tapping Dan Bao's round head. Although Dan Bao took Wu Li's hand away several times, Wu Li insisted on putting his hand on it. It seems to be revenge for that foot. Jian Wushuang was also a little confused by the transfer. Just here, a breath suddenly came from afar. It's the breath of Elder Brew. Dan Bao also felt the breath. Not only are they looking for the Holy Land, but the strong in the Holy Land are also looking for them. Jian Wushuang also felt the breath of the other party. Both sides teleport at the same time. Meet by the way. Elder Brew. Dan Bao jumped off the flying carpet and ran over. Chapter 58-55. Jian Wushuang also raised his eyes to see that the other party was a young hard-covered Balunga tribe. When he heard the elder, he thought he would be an old man. I didn't expect to be so young, and the aura on his body was extremely powerful. It should be a powerhouse in the 6 tribulations realm. Dan Bao. Elder Bula's voice was very gentle, placing his hand on Dan Bao's head. In an instant, he felt what Dan Bao had experienced on this day. With tears in his eyes, Dan Bao looked up at Brew. At this moment, he completely relaxed. At the end of the day, the tribe was destroyed. He watched the people who rescued him fall. It was a big blow to him as a child. Bulu touched Dan Bao's head and comforted him. You have suffered. For a child who hadn't experienced world affairs, it was indeed a big shock. After comforting Dan Bao, Bulu looked at Jian Wushuang and Wu Li. Thank you for protecting Dan Bao from the two benefactors. Please follow me into the Holy Land. The Great Elder is waiting for you. Bulu waved his hand, and a powerful divine power wrapped Jian Wushuang and Wu Li directly into another space. Jian Wushuang hasn't reacted yet. When they reappeared, they reached the foot of a huge mountain. Please inside. Brew waved his hand. Jian Wushuang nodded and followed Wu Li with him. After going up the mountain, he realized that the gravity here was as high as 10,000 times. Mortals cannot survive at all. At least it must be immortal. The tens of thousands of times the gravity here is not comparable to the gravity he had in those mundane worlds. The gravity here is calculated according to the standard gravity of time and space. The standard gravity of time and space is much stronger than those of the material world. 10,000 times of gravity, that is an extremely suitable training ground for penance. The closer you are to the top, the heavier the gravity. Dan Bao on the side was already struggling. Bulu introduced at this time, the gravity of Longshan Mountain is calculated according to the steps, and going up the mountain is 10,000 times, and then each step will double the gravity of the spacetime standard. One step, double. Jian Wushuang looked up at the road to the top of the mountain. There are at least 100,000 orders here. That is 100,000 times the gravity. The Emperor couldn't climb up. It just corresponds to the divine power. 100,000 times the gravity is 100,000 times the divine body. It is a place of tempering for juniors. But for him and Wu Li, it was the same as usual walking. It makes no difference. Dan Bao's divine power is only 50,000, and he can't hold it in the middle of it. It was still Bulu wrapping Dan Bao with his divine power, and stepped to the top of the mountain. After reaching the top of the mountain, Jian Wushuang found that there was only one place on the top of the mountain, the oval stone house. There was no building. I have to say that the sacred place of the Palunga tribe is extremely simple. Not much different from the ordinary tribe. I originally thought that the Holy Land would be very different from the tribe, but I didn't expect it to be inferior to the tribe. Benefactor, Great Elder, please. When Jian Wushuang and others reached the top of the mountain, they thought the young Belungia had walked out of the room, bowed to him, and was extremely polite. Jian Wushuang also clasped his fist slightly, and then walked in with Wu Li Bulu, and Dan Bao also followed. After entering the room, the decoration is even simpler. There is only one huge throne. Sitting above the throne is naturally the Great Elder of the Palunga tribe. The size of the Great Elder is also extremely huge. Rumor has it that this Great Elder was the only descendant left by the Dragon God before his death. And the entire Balunga clan was created by this Great Elder. It is an amazing existence. However, the founder of the Palunga tribe was not good at fighting. The strength is just ordinary robbery. Maybe the 3 tribulations never happened. But the lifespan is beyond the 7 tribulations realm of the human race. With such a living fossil, Jian Wushuang couldn't help but bow when he saw it, and said in a very respectful tone, "Human." Jian Wushuang pays homage to Elder Balunga. "Human, thank you for saving Danbao and also keeping our holy artifact." The voice of the Great Elder was very hoarse, and when he was angry, he was weak. Very weak. Jian Wushuang was struggling to see the other party talking, so he was not polite, and directly said his intention this time. Of course, he first exaggerated the power of Gula, and then talked about the secret of the human race here. This can be said completely, and the Gumu school has not stipulated that they cannot communicate with the powerful in the infinite world. He originally thought that after telling the secret of the infinite world, the other party would be surprised. As a result, the Balungia people present, except Dan Bao, were extremely indifferent. Apparently, I knew it a long time ago. And he knows more about human race than him. Go up to 9 heavens and 10 earth, down to the 16 kingdoms of grass. Is a knower, but for Gula, they know less. At least, after he told the horror of Gula, no one refuted it. The elder on the throne recalled, "The frozen demon race you are talking about should come from the Arctic ice plain. No wonder the devil who was sealed by the dragon god came to the Dragon Ball." Hearing this, Jian Wushuang was also taken aback, but he didn't expect this great elder to know. He also understood the origin of Gula. No wonder he didn't find information about Gula from the memories of those wild beasts. The emotional partner has just arrived in the Dragon God continent. Similar to him, they are all outsiders. It's just that Gula's strength is so strong. Why does the Jiumu faction keep him here? Why not get Gula out? Gula's normality, millions of supernatural powers. After transforming, it is the combat power of the 7 tribulations realm standard. It is really wasteful to stay in the infinite world. Unless it is the Gumu sect who intends otherwise. He never knew this. Judging from this sacred meeting in Ancient Wood Continent alone, in fact, the overall strength of the entire Ancient Wood Continent is very average. If Emperor Bobby was the reason, he could even take advantage of this opportunity to take advantage of the old nest of the Ancient Wood School. Just a half-dead 8 Tribulations realm, and several 7 Tribulations realm universe masters. The Ancient Wood sect's master of the 7 Tribulations realm universe was not there, and the Iron Guts was just neutral, and the Yunji Kingdom Lord who had just broken through would not participate in the Gumu sect's affairs. If he were Emperor Bobby, he would definitely bring someone to the Jiumu sect to forcefully break the 10,000 Willows Shinmu. There is so much vitality in Wanliu. It can be said to be infinite. If you get Wanliu, maybe Barbie Di will be able to perfect the method of sabotage. At that time, it will be possible to unify the time and space of the 9 major universities, will not be impossible. The number of robbers is 10 times more than that of the master of the universe. Let's talk about Gumu school. In the 7 tribulations realm, there are no 180. But there is only one master of the universe. The 6 tribulations realm is even more exaggerated. Thousands of scattered calamities, only a few of the masters of the universe in the 6 tribulations realm. This is the bottom line of the veteran forces. Let the Lord of the universe fight, and then feed a bunch of waste. Fortunately, the emerging forces have many masters of the universe. Calculating this way, the human race is actually inferior to those alien powerhouses on the wild continent. End of this chapter. Chapter 58-56. It's like Witch Wave Wheel plus the first strong Elder Brew. His combat power is even stronger than the Lord of the Universe in the 6 tribulations realm. After hesitating again and again, Jian Wushuang also announced the detailed plan. Cooperate. Win-win. Of course he couldn't guarantee that he would be able to return Belungia's holy artifact. But there is still confidence in protecting the Belungia people. Just wait for the female emperor to come, inform the female emperor of this matter, and inform everyone who is strong in the clan. This time it was half done. Otherwise, Gula would be able to defeat them all alone. Of course, when he said this plan, he still didn't have much confidence. Elder Bruce also felt a little ridiculous standing aside. A little guy with a normal state of 400,000 supernatural powers, but said a plan to protect them. The great elder on the throne is particularly trusting Jian Wushuang. Blue, order to go down and let all the elders of the tribe bring the Dragon Ball back to the holy ground. After the elder said, he also took down a Dragon Ball above the throne. There are currently 2 in the Holy Land. One was brought by Jian Wushuang and the other was guarded by the great elder. Plus the 3 that Gula got. There are currently 4 out. Must gather to the Holy Land. It's too dangerous outside. This is part of Jian Wushuang's plan. First gather all the existing Dragon Balls together, and then let the strong people cast a rat avoidance weapon. Plus the strength of the Belunga clan. It's impossible not to cooperate with the strong human race. In fact, he didn't have much confidence at the beginning, because he was only an emperor. Even if he took advantage of the power of the female emperor, he couldn't bring all the strong people together. Some means must be used. He is not polite to the so-called self. After such a brief contact, he would rather believe in the strong of the Belunga tribe than the strong in the human race. Great Elder Jiao Yi, when my majesty arrives, he must wave the flag to summon all the races to gather together, cooperate with the noble and powerful, and defeat the Gula. Jian Wushuang is really happy, but the layman does not need to participate in the war. Do not participate in the war. Drive everything behind. After Elder Bulu heard what the great elder said, he didn't hesitate to take out the crystal of transmission. This made Jian Wushuang very impressed. The opponent is the first strongest player in Buluan and, just by looking at his face, I feel that the opponent's personality is definitely not a good thing. I originally thought that the other party would definitely not agree and would waste a bit of tongue. I didn't expect to obey the words of the great elder so much. This made Jian Wushuang very impressed. The strong are not necessarily the wise. The strength of an ethnic group requires the strong. But the longevity of an ethnic group requires wise men. Things are half done. He also relaxed, and winked at Wu Li who was aside, and his eyes couldn't hide the excitement. Naturally, Wu Li was also very happy. If you can't fight, it's better not to fight. He wants to let the Empress take him to lie down and win now. The 2 have not been happy for long. On Bru's side, something went wrong. Elder, please take a look at this. Bulu looked embarrassed, and handed the crystal ball to the elder. Jian Wushuang and Wu Li also looked over. It's just that the 2 of them are not Belunga people. Can't see the picture on the crystal ball. The great elder didn't look at the crystal ball, just put his hand on it, and then opened his eyes. Human benefactor, your majesty in your mouth, is this woman. Belungia's grand elder shook the crystal ball, and a figure appeared above him. After seeing that cold face, Wu Li nodded repeatedly and said, yes, this is my majesty. He is by no means weaker than Elder Brew. Wait for her. Before he finished speaking, Jian Wushuang stopped Wu Li. Just as Wu Li was about to ask why he had to stop him, he saw the red ball with one hand on the waist of the Empress, and his face froze. Elder, actually I don't know her very well. Jian Wushuang squeezed out a smile, then said, your heart. The divine power in Bulu burst out, and he leaped behind the two of them, carrying Jian Wushuang and Wu Li with each hand just like a little chicken, and mentioned in front of the Great Elder. Don't be rude. The Great Elder shook his head, but there was a trace of sadness in his eyes, because one of their tribes had just been wiped out. It was the Empress in Jian Wushuang's mouth. This also represents the collapse of the plan. After the tribe of Balunga was destroyed, it would be impossible to cooperate anymore. But Jian Wushuang and Wu Li were innocent, and they both saved Dan Bao. Elder, I suspect that they can communicate with the outside world and can't stay in the Holy Land. Bulu reminded him. He had already seen that Jian Wushuang and Wu Li were not like good people. Just kept holding back without saying. Now the Terran has begun to slaughter the Palunga people. If it weren't for the fact that he had been kept in the dark when he was informing about the tribe, when the Dragon Ball had been brought to the holy ground, and any female emperor would be brought in, their Palunga tribe would be in danger. After the elder was silent for a long time, his voice hoarsely said, two benefactors, here are some treasures. You can take these treasures and leave. It is a gratitude from my Palunga tribe. This can be regarded as a tactful utterance, hurrying to get out of the treasure with the treasure, neither owes each other, the next time I encounter it, I will be a mortal enemy. After seeing the treasures, Wu Li was already a little tempted. But Jian Wushuang is not reconciled. Such a perfect plan has just fallen through. Feng Chen, you misunderstood me. He was no longer annoyed. If he knew it, he had told the other party about the plan first. Now it's like this. It's all over. What kind of treasures the Great Elder took out? He doesn't like it at all. I don't want it either. He has reached the limit of the Emperor. What is bad is not a treasure, but an opportunity. Opportunity to hit the robbery. I don't have time to practice now, I can only wait for the opportunity. Collecting 9 dragon is an opportunity. He is not only for the Feng Chen Empress, but also for himself. It's good now. Let's die together. He is already able to foresee the future, not his time Mahayana, but the ending that everyone can see. Gula and the Terran besieged Palunga. Loot the Dragon Ball. After killing Buoluan and adding people, it is a struggle between the two sides. On the human race side, the strongest is the Empress. The only master of the 6 Tribulations realm universe. The divine power of the female emperor is 1 million. As soon as he broke through, he reached the pinnacle of the 6 Tribulations realm. But this is not enough. After Gula's transformation, his strength skyrocketed. The female emperor couldn't stop it. Left those stinky fish and shrimps, so there is no need to mention it. At that time, Gula won a big victory. All Terrans have lost. The task is impossible to complete, and there is no need to think about the position of the saint. The position of the saint. Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes. The saint of the previous generation seemed to be the master of the universe of 6 tribulations. Is the position of this saint really that important? Not necessarily. Now the task of this group is more important than the position of the saint. This may be the most difficult task of all the holy congregations. 7 stars. This is the first time. Chapter 58-57. This is the first and perhaps the last 7-star mission. Let them meet, it could have been well grasped. It turned out to be what it is now. Elder, let me give thanks, we don't want to leave, this time I am willing to stand on the side of the Balunga clan. Jian Wushuang directly took out the token. He threw it to Bruce casually. He is not leaving. Go out and follow the Empress, sooner or later, she will be killed by Gula. It is better to stay in the holy place to practice. He didn't do anything, he wanted to see what chaos in the Dragon God continent would become. Wu Li hesitated. His understanding of the frozen demon race was only from Jian Wushuang's mouth, and he didn't think it was so outrageous. The tree man in his body reminded him again at this time and made him give up his plan to go out. Also took out the token. Thanks, The benefactor underestimated my Boluan Jaran. Please take back the token. You can stay in the Holy Land as long as you want. If any strongman of the frozen demon race breaks the Holy Land, I hope you can bring Danbao with you. To leave the Dragon God continent, it is best to take him to 9 heavens and 10 places. Jian Wushuang nodded, didn't say much, but the meaning was clear. As long as he can stand, he won't let Danbao lie down. When it comes to protecting people, he still has a hand. Baloo was also very surprised this time. He didn't expect that the Great Elder would leave Jian Wushuang and Wu Li. But I dare not go against it. After thanking the Great Elder, Baloo asked Danbao to take the two of them down to the top. On the way down the mountain, Wu Li directly asked, "Brother Wushuang, do you have any plans?" No. Jian Wushuang didn't hide it either, he really had no plans anymore. He has given up his heart now. The Great Elder of Balunga was able to say the kind of words just now, and he might have foreseen something. Perhaps the Palunga tribe will perish, and the Terran tribe will also fail. When the time comes, they have to run away again. Wu Li was a bit unwilling and didn't care about Danbao, and said bluntly, "It's better for us to take refuge in that Gora. Brother Li Sheng is pretty good. If you don't refine some conversion pills, let's work together. Let's take refuge in Gula. His abacus is pretty good." At least Jian Wushuang was amused. After taking refuge in the Gura and gathering the Dragon Balls, they are useless. At that time, he shall not be blasted. The extremely clever Dan Bao also smiled. After Wu Li saw it, he touched Dan Bao's head and said, "Why, you want to betray? Don't be ashamed of it. The men that Gula needs are to find Dragon Balls. We have found all the Dragon Balls, so what are they doing?" He asked in a rhetorical question and directly killed Wu Li. Dan Bao took the two of them to a small courtyard halfway up the mountain and said, "Benefactor, this is your residence. If you have any needs, please tell me. I will live here during this time. This place is really good." Jian Wushuang pushed aside the yard and was very satisfied after seeing the layout. The environment has nothing to say, cultivation is also first class. Near the cliff, there is not only a pavilion for the wind, but also a hot spring. Wu Li walked into the pavilion carelessly, looked around, and nodded and said, "It's really good, it's quite suitable for elderly care." This sentence is to remind Jian Wushuang. The goal of the two of them is Wanliu. Although I am a little passive now, I can't live without any plans. Let's hide here. He obviously wanted Jian Wushuang to come up with an idea. Dan Bao, you can call me Jian Wushuang from now on, no longer need to be called a benefactor, you don't owe us anything. Benefactor, the two words are too harsh. It was Wu Li's intention to save Danbao in the first place. The reason for the rescue was to inquire about the location of other Dragon Balls from the opponent's mouth. The ideas are dirty, and then let others call the benefactor all day long. Wu Li didn't blush, he blushed. "Okay, benefactor Jian Wushuang." Dan Bao nodded. Jian Wushuang sighed, and said casually, "Do you have any alcohol in the Palunga tribe?" "Yes, Elder Baloo will refine it, I'll get it now." Dan Bao finished speaking, and trot out of the yard. Looking at the disappearing back, he secretly sighed the other party's dexterity. Knowing that he was going to say something to Wu Li, he left directly. Wow. Backhand took out 2 jugs of good wine and handed it to Wu Li. "You have wine, let Danbao help you find it." Wu Li took the wine bottle, smelled it, and asked in surprise. Jian Wushuang rolled his eyes, and said helplessly, "Don't you want to listen to my plan? You can't speak to that little guy." "That's right." Wu Li suddenly became energetic, and he had a plan, at least it made people feel at ease. Jian Wushuang tore off the clothes casually, walked into the hot spring. The moment he entered the hot spring, he immediately felt the divine power alive. Comfortable. Put your hands on the shore, tilt your head back, and take another sip of wine. This is simply his most comfortable time. Fight and kill all day long. Never thought about it, enjoy it. Wu Li also tore off his clothes at this time and jumped in. What? He closed his eyes comfortably, and leaned back across from Jian Wushuang. Really comfortable. For a while, I forgot to ask about the plan. The two of them soaked in the hot spring comfortably, and fell asleep unknowingly. Dan Bao deliberately delayed for a while before he walked in. They found that Jian Wushuang and Wu Li were asleep in the hot spring, and they didn't want to bother anymore. After putting down their drinks, they quietly walked out of the yard. With this feeling, Jian Wushuang slept extremely easily, without any worries. I didn't know how long I lay down, but the sky was getting dark anyway. When I opened my eyes, I saw the stars in the sky. Seeing Wu Li was still asleep, he didn't mean to wake the other party. Turning his head and glanced at the direction of the room, there was a candlelight. It should be Dan Bao. He got up gently, took out a loose robe, and sat in the Chengfeng pavilion to drink alone. The identity token keeps jingling. News of the Empress and Li Sheng kept coming. He was not in a hurry. First glanced at the message sent by Li Sheng. Danger, danger, danger. Keanu. Just a person's name. However, according to Li Sheng, Jinyu is Gula's strongest subordinate, a special being in the Six Tribulations realm. From the Arctic ice sheet. In addition to Jinyu, there are also several Six Tribulations realm and 105 Tribulations realm. This is almost enough for the Terran team to drink a pot. It is indeed very dangerous. Even if his previous plan is established, he may not be an opponent. Gula's advantage is too great. Now the entire Dragon God continent is in chaos. The melee of countless strong men. The news from the Empress is very simple. It's about Dragon Ball. Then came the cooperation of the human race. After seeing the news, they quickly went to a place where the human race was assembled. The most important thing is to bring Dragon Ball. It seems to have met Gula. End of this chapter. Chapter 58-58. Originally, he thought that the double hair would tacitly seek out the holy land of Balunga. Now it seems that Gula feels that he has too much advantage, and he doesn't pay attention to the human race at all. The strong under his hands, the strong who constantly slaughtered Balungia, and the human race were all cleaned up. It was a perfect thing to work with the Balunga tribe. Such a pity. Why don't you call me? Wu Li in the hot spring complained after waking up. His supernatural power shook and evaporated the water droplets on his body, put on a piece of clothing, and sat across from Jian Wushuang, picking up the drink on the table. Just took a big sip. Tell me what you think. Wu Liruan snorted and began to question the plan mentioned during the day. He was actually more anxious than Jian Wushuang. Now I feel more and more stressed. The same is true for the tree in the body. I thought that this holy meeting would be the same as before. The result has changed since the Roman River. Just such a powerful person in the Six Tribulations realm, let them meet. Forget it, when I came to the Dragon God continent, I even encountered the #1 powerhouse in the infinite world. It's fine if you pass the Dragon God continent quietly. The key Ancient Wood continent also issued a group mission. The core of the mission happened to conflict with Gula. Wu Li's strength and whole cards have long been insufficient. Now it is the Six Tribulations realm, and the situation cannot be shaken. Can only listen to Jian Wushuang. My plan is very simple. Practice hard and become the 8 Tribulations realm as soon as possible. Jian Wushuang poured a sip of strong wine, just like talking nonsense. Wu Li really believed the key, staring at Jian Wushuang with serious eyes, and said solemnly, "Are you going to hit the Tribulation realm?" Jian Wu double-faced startled, and found that the other party really believed it, and suddenly felt a headache. If you break through now, it is really hopeful, but is it a bit risky to cross the 8 calamities at a time? It's better to cross the 7 calamities first and be safe. Wu Li said the same. He almost believed it himself. He interrupted the other party quickly, and then explained, "How can it be so easy to hit the Tribulation realm? If I could, I would have charged early." But there was one thing he was quite sure, that when he arrived at the Tribulation realm, it would not be a problem to cross the 5 tribulations at once. At that time, he should go to find other people, and then return to Qi Shundian together. To reach the 6 tribulations realm, it is almost stable. The premise is that after Fan Tianfeng returns, he can test the strength of extinction. Something is far away. Jian Wushuang shook his head, sobered himself up for a while, and told the story of the Empress and Li Sheng. Let Wu Li also help him think about countermeasures. Well, let's run. Wu Li recognized the current situation and took the initiative to say how to enter Wanliu. Jian Wushuang was overjoyed when he heard it, but unexpectedly received the goods. He finally got to know a little bit about entering Wanliu. According to Wu Li, the vitality needed to enter Wanliu is actually just one step. More importantly, 2 practitioners are needed to infuse the origin into the willow together, and both practitioners must have vitality. How do you know that there is life force in my source? Jian Wushuang grasped the point at once and stood up directly. This matter is too big. The power of his life was an absolute secret in GUU time and space. Even if the treasure of time and space is exposed, the life force cannot be said. Seeing his reaction, Wu Li quickly pulled him to sit down and explained, "Don't blame your brother for hiding from you. Today, I told you the truth. The senior tree in my body is my teacher. Yes, but do you know his identity?" "I don't know." Jian Wushuang shook his head, his ears were already erected, and he waited for Wu Li's explanation. "Guru." At this time Wu Li was not in a hurry. He drank a sip of strong wine to moisturize his throat, then lowered his voice and said, "Remember the Lord of Hungmu that I said at the beginning?" "Of course." Jian Wushuang nodded. It was because of a story about Wu Li that he chose to cooperate with each other. He entered the GUU time and space. The first entry point was Wan Liu. Then around Wanliu, this series of things happened. Entering the Qingyunmen to cast an identity, first fawned on the elder Muchen, and then entered the village, and then went to Shigua to refine the sword blank. His strength is also skyrocketing. Finally, see the holy meeting came to the infinite world. Everything is paving the way for Wanliu. It was such a rumor that he would dare to fight like this. Wu Li was also very moved, so he chose to tell him something. "The tree man is the Lord of Hungmu?" Jian Wushuang guessed what at this moment and asked directly. Wu Li nodded heavily, and then continued, "And my teacher almost became the 8 Tribulations realm back then. This is even worse than rumors. And the Lord of Hungmu is outrageous if he is still alive." The rumors are gone. From Wu Li's explanation, he gradually understood. At the beginning, the Lord of Crosswood, in the Willows, got a treasure that could change his fate against the sky. He is cautious, not daring to expose, and has been suppressing the realm. "I'm afraid of being discovered." But in the end it was discovered. The original Shunmu king personally came to the Lord of Constant Wood who had severely injured half a step in the 8 Tribulations realm. Later, the Lord of Hungmu suspended himself and met Wu Li, who was still mundane, and lodged in Wu Li's body. Later, there was the Wu family of Yu Kingdom. Compared to the layout of the 2 of them, the Lord of Eternal Wood had already begun to make arrangements before the billions of times. And the 2 of them are just guides. How against the sky is this treasure? Jian Wushuang's voice was also low. In the bottom of my heart, I was wondering, could it be the treasure of time and space? It's really possible. Just talk about his Guantian chessboard. The help given to him is almost infinite, the emperor does not need to practice, the origin of those chess pieces is free to comprehend, and the strength is strong and can swallow those origins to improve one's origin. Ask yourself, if he is more ordinary, it's just like an ordinary Tianjiao. With the Guantian chessboard, can it become a half-step 8 Tribulation realm? This may depend on some luck. The first true king at the time had a Guantian chessboard. But it was only half a step into the 6 Tribulations realm. He belongs to the bad luck. Had it not been for Chishan and Miesheng, Moruo's time and space would not be destroyed. Perhaps. The first true king can also be promoted. But even so, there is still a gap with the Lord of Hungmu. Half a step and 8 Tribulations. Still being seriously injured by King Shunmu. That treasure was also taken away by King Shunmu. If it weren't for Shunmu King's kick in halfway, perhaps the Lord of Hungmu could really become the Lord of the 8 Tribulations realm universe. Wu Li lowered his voice again and cautiously said, "I don't know much about the specific function of this treasure, but my teacher has told me that it can give Sanjie its origin, prolong Sanji's life, and increase it. Supernatural power." End of this chapter. Chapter 58-59. What? Jian Wushuang shouted directly. If this were true, it would be horrible. Shunmu King has this kind of treasure, but he has been showing weakness to the outside world. There must be some conspiracy, or the Shunmu King himself can't protect the treasure. Once exposed, he is worried that the masters of the universe in the 8 tribulations realm will it. Keep your voice down, the pattern, your pattern. Wu Li quickly pulled him down, and then said, "This is just for Sanjie. My teacher had been in control for so long, but couldn't find out the treasure. But my teacher said that if he keeps mastering that treasure, he is expected to break through the 9 calamity." Jian Wushuang was completely stunned this time. 9 tribulations. The more you talk, the more ridiculous. Guu time and space, the only 9 tribulations realm, is which celestial woman? And also fell. For such a long time, he has not been able to break through a 9 tribulations realm. It wasn't that he looked down on the Lord of Hungmu, but that he was a little bit suspicious that Wu Li was exaggerating. Exaggerate to deceive him into the game. 9 tribulations realm, that is a great temptation for everyone. Jian Wushuang is the same. The road of Guu Shikong was broken. But his way was not broken. Guu time and space is just a springboard for him to hit the 9 great time and space. If I had enough strength, I patted Mayan left. It is impossible to stay in Guu time and space all the time. He could also see the current Guu time and space. Constantly getting weaker. Maybe sometime, a wave of deceitful corpses by the goddess ruined the entire Guu time and space. It's better to leave early. The premise is that he becomes the lord of the universe and then finds all the people he brought. You can't just pat your and leave alone, and you don't care about everyone else. 9 tribulations realm, forget it. He directly shook his head and gave a wry smile. He has confidence in himself, that is justified. It's impossible for him to believe Wu Li's words. Wu Li looked serious, and said, "Brother Wushuang, don't you believe me? Don't believe it." He shook his head. He also heard a lot about Guu time and space from Weiss. That one is a god. He doesn't even believe God's words. How can you believe in Wu Li? Wu Li, who was a little embarrassed, cleared his throat and said, "You don't believe this, then do you believe this?" After speaking, I took out a treasure from the mustard seeds. Said it is a treasure, it is actually a leaf. Is this? Jian Wushuang frowned, took the leaf, pondered carefully, and said in shock, "Could this be Wanlius willow leaves?" Wu Li chuckled lightly and nodded. This is really the leaves of Wanliu, which was picked off when the Lord of the Crosswood left the Shunmu Wanliu. I made a lot of it at the beginning. I used it later when I broke through, and now there is only 1 piece left, and I have to take out Huyo Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang stared at the willow leaves, his eyes flickered when he saw the lines above. Entered directly into the epiphany. This willow leaf has the true meaning of time. This is the core of the breakthrough. Break through with the true meaning of time. Master the time. Seeing this willow leaf, his mind instantly turned pale. Recalling the original understanding of time, it was simply crooked to my grandma's house. The realm of space is mainly divided into stars, black holes, and universe. The division of time is extremely mysterious. It can be said that each has its own understanding. Everyone is different. At this moment, he instantly realized his true meaning of time. Getting started. Jian Wushuang murmured, in such a trance, he actually stepped into the origin of time. It's 1 step closer to hitting the robbery realm. He doesn't know the role of this willow, but it can give him an introduction to the origin of time at a glance. It is definitely the top treasure. How about it? Believe it now. Wu Li said with a smile. Jian Wushuang shook his head. The other party didn't even know the key reason why the 9 tribulations realm did not appear in Guu time and space. But that willow leaf cannot be eaten as a meal. Wu Li was in a hurry, and then said, "Brother Wushuang, I'm all for this. Aren't we here for Wanliu? We can't give up halfway. It's not that I won't go." Jian Wushuang was also a little helpless. The other party is so anxious now that he will miss a major event. He didn't know that it was not Wu Li who was anxious, but Shu Ren. That is, the Lord of Hungmu. Then what are you waiting for? Tidy up, let's go as the best policy. Wu Li was running with 2 fingers. Jian Wushuang was tangled in his heart. Now is not the time to be angry with the Empress, and the method Wu Li said right now is not impossible. Since the other party is confident, he originally followed Wu Li's plan and was able to easily run away. Finally, he gritted his teeth, drank the last sip of wine, and said firmly, "Go." The 2 got up at the same time, and they were about to tell Dan Bao what they were leaving. But before the 2 of them went in and called Dan Bao had already walked out. 2 benefactors, are you leaving? Dan Bao widened his eyes and stared at the 2. Jian Wushuang nodded and said, the rest is almost the same, so I won't cause trouble to the nobles. Well, I'll report it to the Great Elder. After speaking, he turned around and prepared to leave. At this time, Wu Li reminded the sound transmission, should they not stop us? Why not sneak away? This suggestion was directly rejected by Jian Wushuang. This place is the holy land of the Palunga tribe, and how they both get out is a problem. It's better to be honest and tell the truth. Boom. In the sky, a cloud layer was shaken apart, and everyone below looked up. Jian Wushuang and Wu Li were also surprised. Dan Bao, who was planning to go out and report the situation to the Great Elder, was also stunned. Then I heard Longshan Mountain, a long chime sounded, and the sky and the earth changed a layer of color. The night sky with shining stars suddenly turned into day. This is enemy attack. At this moment, not only Jian Wushuang and the others reacted, but the wave wheel enhancers of Longshan Shan skyrocketed one after another and reached the top of the mountain. They would never have imagined that human race and Gula's men would find this place so quickly. But Jian Wushuang's plan had not yet been implemented, and once again declared a failure. This kind of unlucky thing happened to them all in one day. Go to the top of the mountain first to see the situation. Jian Wushuang's expression sank, and he could only temporarily change his plan. He wrapped Dan Bao with divine power, his wings shook behind his back, and he reached the top of the mountain. Wu Li also followed. When they reached the top of the mountain, they found out. Hundreds of Balungia people have gathered here. All of them looked gloomy, especially when they saw Jian Wushuang and Wu Li. Their eyes showed distrust. The people who attacked the Holy Land were the men of human race and Gula. Being able to find the Holy Land so quickly, these fighting-type Palunga tribes immediately began to suspect Jian Wushuang and Wu Li. This is also normal. Jian Wushuang and Wu Li could only huddled in the corner, not daring to say a word. Chapter 5860. This time, not only were they unlucky, but Balungia was also unlucky. The powerful men from the rest of the tribe had just gathered and brought the Dragon Ball to the Holy Land to avoid the disaster, and they were discovered by the men of the human race and the Gula. Now he is directly trapped in the Holy Land. I can't get out even if I want to go out. Jian Wushuang and Wu Li were too embarrassed to say they left. The key is now that you can go if you walk, not to mention whether people outside can let them go. Even the powerhouses of the Balunga clan will definitely not let the tiger go back to the mountain. Stay honestly. The strong on the top of the mountain continue to gather. Jian Wushuang's thought force swept lightly, and there were only 5 in the 6 tribulations realm alone. Maybe it can really be carried. As long as Gula doesn't make the shot himself. The first wave of offense should also be no problem. Brother Wushuang, why don't we go back again? Wu Li's eyes were erratic at this time, and his figure kept backing away. Jian Wushuang looked up and found that Bulu was walking towards them. Gently patted Wu Li's shoulder to make him stay steady, then walked over by himself and said, Elder Bu, I need help to tell us both at any time. Elder, please go in and talk. Bulu said calmly. Dan Bao also walked out of the elder's house at this time and nodded at him. He turned his head and winked at Wu Li, and then replied, It just so happens that we also have something to say to the elder. He forced Wu Li and walked into the house of the Great Elder. After entering, I discovered that there were 5 older wave wheel intensifiers here. All are the pinnacles of the 5 tribulations realm. Apparently, it came from an outside tribe. In addition to these few, there is an acquaintance. Zack. I didn't expect the other party to be alive. In this way, the strength of the Belunga clan is much stronger than that of the human clan. On the human race side, there are quite a few strong people comparable to the Six Tribulations realm. But to truly reach the Six Tribulations realm, there is only one female emperor. The number is only 100 people. There are 5 of the Six Tribulations realm of the Belunga clan. There are dozens of experts in the 5 Tribulations realm. In terms of single races alone, it is impossible to attack. It just depends on how powerful Gula's subordinates, Li Sheng said. Maybe it's really hopeful. After seeing Jian Wushuang and Wu Li coming in, the elder said with exhaustion, 2 benefactors, there is something, I hope you can tell me the Belunga. Elder, please say. Jian Wushuang was straightforward, without detouring. This time the great elder did not speak, but looked at one of the tribe elders who was also quite old. Which elder was the elder Jones who Zack went to rescue? He paused and then asked, please tell us the information of the powerful outsiders. This will help us a lot. If this time we can to block the strong men of the human race and the men of Gula, the elders will personally send you away from the Dragon God continent. This. Wu Li was taken aback for a moment, and his expression was serious. This is a bit unruly, right? We too saved you from the Belunga people. We can promise not to deal with the Belunga people, but betray the human race. I'm afraid. Jian Wushuang also hesitated. The betrayal is small. What he was afraid of was cutting off his own back road. There are not many good people in those human races outside. Don't talk about betrayal. Even if he is asked to help the Belunga tribe to protect his homeland, he will not have much psychological burden. The only worry is that they are tied to a warship with the Belunga tribe, and the Belunga tribe will be over. What do they do? This is a very realistic thing. The Belunga tribe couldn't stop the Gula at all. He thought it would delay this time when the human race outside began to fight with Gula's men. But now that all the dragon from the outside have reached the Belungia Holy Land, there is nothing to fight for. The silent cooperation between the two parties has already explained the problem. Destroy the Belunga clan first, and then fight the male and female. These idiots. Jian Wushuang cursed secretly. The strong of the human race may not have noticed the strong of the Gula. Don't even understand the frozen demon race. I thought that if the Empress had 1,000,000 supernatural powers, she could be equal to Gula. It's ridiculous. Wu Li could not pay attention, and looked at Jian Wushuang again. It's true that I don't know much about the human races from the outside world. I only know some of the superficial strengths of the strong in some countries. The Great Elder should know that I am originally from the grassy 16 kingdoms. Jian Wushuang simply be honest. He really doesn't know much. It is almost enough to simply sell the powerhouses of the 16 nations. The 16 kingdoms of green grass was created by the master of the universe of the 8 tribulations realm. Later it was divided into 16 countries. The eternal kingdom is gone. Shugua's team was also wiped out. There are only 14 countries left. The strength is uneven. After throwing out the Yu kingdom and the daughter who is kind to him abroad, there are only 12 countries left. Among the 12 kingdoms, he said all the strongest 5 tribulation realm universe masters. Of course, this combat power data is too simple. Who knows how strong their whole cards will be? Is there only these? Elder Jones shook his head and sighed. Forget it, there are some uses. Ukanshu. Something is better than nothing. Brew, who followed up, didn't take it seriously. The Lord of the Universe in the 5 tribulations realm, he simply doesn't like it. Jian Wushuang was talking about Gula's men. Dear elders, the threat of the 16 kingdoms is naturally not that powerful, but those of Gula's subordinates have a few 6 tribulations realm powerhouses. They should be the top powerhouses in the infinite world. Jian Wushuang raised his brows and told the story of Kinho. This special being in the 6 tribulations realm brought many powerful people to the Dragon God continent from the Arctic ice sheet. Li Sheng informed him of the news. Now he turned his head and gave it to the Belunga tribe. I am a little sorry for Li Sheng. He originally planned to have a copy, but now there is nothing left. Li Sheng also became embarrassed as one of Gula's men, Without Zhen Wushuang's support, it was useless at all. The ending is even more dark. What Zhen Wushuang didn't know was that Li Sheng was almost at the peak of the 5 tribulations realm now. The future is promising. Even Gula admired him very much. And Jinu also agreed to take Li Sheng to the Arctic icefield and become a demon saint. Li Sheng is now entangled whether or not to follow the other party. It is not Li Sheng that is dark, but Zhen Wushuang and Wu Li. The two of them are now caught in the middle, extremely uncomfortable. Keanu. Elder Jones thought of something, then his eyes trembled, and he reported to the Grand Elder, "When Zack and I escaped, I felt a horrible atmosphere comparable to Gula. It should be him, with the least power. 900,000. When Bruce heard it, he clenched his fists and said nothing. The supernatural power of 900,000. The peak powerhouse of the 6 tribulations realm. Similar to King Tamu. This strength is enough to dominate any place in the infinite world." Chapter 58-61. Brooke, take someone with you to prepare for the battle. The 2 benefactors can leave at any time without any hindrance. If you need help, just say it. The elder closed his eyes when he finished speaking. Everyone bowed and saluted, and then walked out. Zhen Wushuang followed Wu Li. Also walked out of the house together. As they all turned around, the great elder opened his eyes and stared at the backs of Zhen Wushuang and Wu Li, and muttered in his heart, "Is my lifespan really tied to the Belunga clan?" The great elder thought of a legacy left to him by the dragon god. The fate of the Pelunga is not how strong the younger generation is, it is entirely in him. He can't hold on for long, originally calculated that he still has a lifespan of 10,000 years. But this time in crisis, he deduced the future. Life expectancy has dropped sharply again. It has been less than 100 years. But now the crisis of the Pelunga tribe, let alone 100 years. Can't hold it for a year. Time is running out. But there was still a glimmer of hope, but he didn't dare to bet. If the legacy is true, he falls, and the Belunga tribe will be ruined. He had to gamble again. Now it only depends on the situation. Outside Longshan Mountain. The barrier has begun to loosen. Bru, who presided over the Longshan formation, looked gloomy, and now he had to make a choice. Reduce the scope of the enchantment. Shrink to the top of Dragon God Mountain. Then go down to fight. Otherwise, no matter how small it is, it will be broken. At that time, we must protect other people, which is not conducive to fighting. Only take the initiative. All gathered on the top of the mountain, I will control the enchantment within the range of the top of the mountain, and then others will join me to fight against the powerful enemy. Bulu orderly ordered the rest of the strong to prepare for battle. Then he controlled the formation and began to shrink the enchantment. Outside the mountain, the strong human race headed by Empress Fengchen stood on the left. Gula took his men and stood on the right. Thanks Tusk, it seems that we are going to take the initiative to attack. It's really interesting. Gula dragged his chin, waiting for the show to take place. Standing behind Gula, Jainu was a burly figure with 2 threaded horns on top of his head, but he was not a frozen demon clan himself. With his hands around his chest, he stood there without anger and disdain, and said with disdain, "Great King, why don't you let me go and kill those strong human races first? It is really annoying to look at." Standing further behind, Li Sheng felt a cool breeze around his neck when he heard these words, and was also worried. Worried that the human race is over. He really can't go back. No, it's not necessary. Let's break through this place first. We have to come step by step. After Gula finished speaking, he raised his hand to point out, and a pole began not only to spread. It instantly turned into a scorching sun. The strong on the human side are still constantly attacking the enchantment. After discovering that Gula had taken the shot, they all backed away. The female emperor's brows were also frowned. Although she had already reached the 6 tribulations realm, she had even completed the core mission in which ruins, reached the peak of the 6 tribulations realm, and her divine power could reach 1,000,000. But under normal circumstances, there are only 900,000. But unlike Gula, he can explode millions of divine powers by condensing divine power at will. This made her extremely jealous of Gula. In addition to Gula, there is also Jinyu, who is equally powerful. On her side, she was too single. All are in the Five Tribulations realm, lacking top combat power. Gula's condensed divine power sun is getting stronger and stronger, and it has reached the level of 1,000,000 divine power. The threshold of the Seven Tribulations realm. The barrier of Dragon God Mountain can resist. But it can't resist a few times. Jiyu at the top of the mountain also noticed Bulu, speeding up to shrink the enchantment and gather a stronger defense. Destroy it. Gula stood up, lifted his finger lightly, and threw the scorching black sun towards Longshan Mountain. Wow! The space was burned, leaking out the void. The black sun is constantly approaching the enchantment. Longshan Shan was trembling. The entire Dragon God Mountain was originally a treasure, but it could not withstand such a powerful attack. Hey! The black sun collided on the barrier, constantly making strange noises. People outside are all curious, guessing whether this blow can break the barrier. The people of Dragon God Mountain are constantly gathering divine power and injecting them into the top of the barrier. Help brew to shrink the barrier to the top of the mountain. Only in this way can we steadily resist this blow. Isn't this wave of Lunga clan known as the first ethnic group? This enchantment is too hip. Although Wu Li complained about it, he started very hard, and constantly integrated his divine power into the enchantment. Jian Wushuang originally wanted to do this, but with his supernatural power, he was a little unsatisfactory. Even if it is 5 times the power of the beast god, it is only 600,000 divine power. Anyone in the Five Tribulations realm on the court has 700,000 supernatural powers. However, there are also many Four Tribulations realm powerhouses who are all elites of the Balunga tribe. Those who can stay in the Holy Land are very powerful. Even the Four Tribulations realm has 600,000 divine powers. Jian Wushuang's strength is not too strong among these people. Boom! The bursting sound sounded, and the terrible power reached the peak. Bula's eyes shrank, a golden light burst out of his body, and he blew the cloak around, shaking with a loud shout, and with his own power, he shrank the enchantment directly to the top of the mountain. Bru took a few rough breaths. Obviously shrinks the enchantment, and it is not that easy. Jian Wushuang frowned. He felt that the other party was too careful. Why waste your divine power? What should I do when I go out to fight? Just now he could feel that Bru's supernatural power reached 900,000. It is the Dragon God Mountain, and even the wave wheel plus the first combat power must be maintained at the peak. He wanted to rush up to restore the other party's supernatural power. Unfortunately, I can't do it. I can only lower my head and give a wry smile. Dan Bao stood at the back and saw that Bru's breath had dropped a lot. He walked up carefully, then put his hands on Bru's body. A green light burst, and Bru's divine power reached its peak in an instant. The rest of the Palunga tribe didn't think it was strange. But Jian Wushuang and Wu Li both dropped their jaws in shock. Life. Wu Li said in shock. Jian Wushuang looked at it carefully and corrected. It is the supernatural power of the transformation of all things. All things are transformed. The cold light in Wu Li's eyes flickered, and the tree man in his body began to be uncomfortable. After returning to his peak, Bulu touched Danbao's head, looked down at the opponent, and said softly, "Thank you." When I raised my head, my eyes glowed with a cold light. "Everyone, if we can sit on the Dragon God Mountain, we shall suppress the quartet and fight with me." Bru swiftly swiped, a formation appeared on the ground, turned his head and said, "Go." Swish. Dozens of people on the top of the mountain left the place together. When it appeared again, it was already under the mountain. That warfare made Jian Wushuang tremble. At this moment, he wanted to join the Balunga clan and go down the mountain to fight. Seeing that everyone is gone, Wu Li's courage also grew, and he drew his fingers to the ground, and said, "Little brother Danbao, can you open this barrier?" Chapter 58-62. No, only the Great Elder and Elder Bru can open it. Dan Bao shook his head. Jian Wushuang walked to the edge of the cliff and looked to the outside world. Chaos. After the barrier was shrunk, the outside world was no longer visible. You can only perceive with your mind. It's a pity that I can't see this peak matchup anymore. Just when he was sorry, Dan Bao took out the crystal ball that everyone has in the Balunga tribe, and squatted on the ground staring at the crystal ball. This makes Wu Li and him very envious. Dan Bao noticed the gaze he cast, and said, "Benefactor, do you want to see it together? Can we see it too?" Jian Wushuang asked in surprise. They couldn't see the picture of the crystal ball. It seemed that only the strong of the Balunga clan could see the outside world through the crystal. Dan Bao nodded firmly, and affirmed, "Of course you can. You only need to pour your mind power into this crystal ball to see the battle outside." "That's great." Wu Li walked over immediately, injecting a thought force. Jian Wushuang also followed. After injecting the power of thought, I saw the scene of the outside world as expected. Very magical, almost like a sky curtain. Looking down the crystal ball, he has reached the bottom of the mountain. Bru took the lead, behind more than 35 Tribulations Realm, and hundreds of 4 Tribulations Realm powerhouses. But their opponents have more than 105 Tribulations Realm and 76 Tribulations Realm. This is not a Gula. Count Gula. They may not be able to hold a round. Gula didn't plan to participate in the war, but smiled with his head raised up and said, "It's really interesting. Kinho takes your people, get ready to go to war." After thinking about it, he added, "The rest of you, don't take action, otherwise it will be too boring." After speaking, he glanced at the strong man over there. "He doesn't worry, the human race will produce more powerhouses." Sure enough, the female emperor saw that Gula didn't make a move, but let Jinyu and the other 5-6 Tribulation Realms make a move. She thought it was to save her strength, so naturally she wouldn't use more combat power. "Yaroyu, let you take the lead this time." The empress turned her head and said to the Wolf King Yaroyu of the Sky Wolf clan. The powerhouses of the Sirius tribe were all taken aback, but they had no other choice. The powerhouses of the 16 Grass Kingdoms dispatched the powerhouses of the 4 nations, bringing together 6-5 Tribulation Realms and 72 4 Tribulation Realms. On the side of the Secret Realm, there were 36 5 Tribulations Realm and 404 Tribulations Realm strongmen. It can be regarded as 1/3 of the human side's combat power. It's almost the same as the Gula side. After all, Gula's subordinates are also those of Kinu. Except for the 6 Tribulations Realm that Jinyu took, there were only a dozen 5 Tribulations Realm left. Fighting power is like air. This time the fight was just a test. If possible, the Empress hopes that these people will be finished with Jinyu and the strong men of the Balunga tribe. Then she took the rest, and hoped to defeat Gula. Be the last winner. It's just that this idea is too ideal. Jian Wushuang, who was watching the battle, heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that Gula didn't make a direct shot. At the same time, in my heart, I was also praying that Bulu could replace the strong man who participated in the war, so that the human side and the Gula might have infighting in advance. Because there are so many powerful people in the Balunga clan. All fell. The remaining Dragon Ball is what's in the bag. It was indeed the time when the human race and the Gula divided the victory and defeat. At that time, they will be able to watch another peak duel. It is even expected to influence the situation of the war. Jian Wushuang had already begun to gather energy. Be ready to go out and beat one side at any time. Of course, what he most hopes is that the human race can win. In this way, he can also cooperate with the human race and protect the rest of the Balunga race. Wu Li didn't think so. He shook his head and sighed when he saw the comparison of combat power. "You think too much," Dan Bao retorted. "No one wants a neutral party to exist. Even if the Gula is indifferent to this battle, he will not allow variables to happen, and I am a strong man of the Balunga clan. It may not be lost, it is impossible to sneak attack and be slaughtered." After speaking, he glanced at Wu Li contemptuously. Jian Wushuang also despised this. Despise Wu Li, there is no dignity of a strong man. If everyone is like this, there will still be fights, there will be no fights, then the strong will come. It would not be better for everyone to get stuck in the emperor and wait for death. Look at the battle first. The three of them sat around the crystal ball and unconsciously took out the fruit wine. Wu Li felt that something was missing, and took out the hind legs of a wild beast from his mustard seeds. He set up a grill at random, put his hind legs in, and a magic flame rose up at the touch of a finger. Jian Wushuang just felt that this was a bit inappropriate, but the smell of meat wafted, and the desire to swallow the divine body was aroused, so he endured it. He took out a small bone knife and took the initiative, drinking and eating meat. The flesh and blood of this desolate beast contained a strong divine power. It's a pity that his divine power can't be improved now. Can only simply enjoy this delicacy. Dan Bao smelled the scent of meat and looked at Jian Wushuang with embarrassment. Jian Wushuang also understood very well, and took out a small knife inlaid with expensive gems and handed it over. The three were drinking, eating meat and watching the cruel struggle outside. Down the mountain. One after another, the terrifying power erupted. Fighting is on the verge of. Bulu stared at Gula, then looked at the female emperor on the human side, and spoke to the people behind. This is an opportunity. We must quickly solve these people. There is still a chance. Although he is not a wise Belunga tribe, Bru's fighting talent is extremely high. The opponent used the worst refueling tactics. It is indeed their opportunity. Just take advantage of the time when the opponent hasn't reacted, and burst out in an instant, killing all these opponents in the battle, or seriously injuring them. Can't be dragged. Dragging will be fought by wheels. The people behind nodded secretly. The plan has been made. On the other hand, the strong people on the human side and the Jinni side are very relaxed. Jinu moved his wrist and said, "The strongest one, leave it to me, and you will share the rest. That thin man, leave it to me. I'll deal with the fat guy." They seem to be dividing up their prey. The strong man on the human side was delighted in his heart after hearing this. Picking out all the 6 tribulations realm, then the remaining 5 tribulations realm would be nothing to worry about. The demon moon of the Sirius tribe is the strongest, and has more than 45 tribulations realm powerhouses, while on the Belungia side there are only more than 35 tribulations realm. Some have to be separated to deal with the 6 tribulations realm. There are less than 20 people left. On the human side, there are twice as many people. And each is the master of the universe, and the combat power is also stable. The advantage lies in the human race. Bru also felt the fighting spirit of Kinho, immediately shouted, and rushed first. Kill. The people behind followed along. Kill. 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 The shout shook Longshan Shan. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.